Hello and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism through passionate people who do incredible things. Hi, my boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. I'm Trey, and joined by my co-host, who will tell me that one of these days these boots will not walk you all over you, but instead to the nearest art exhibition, is my co-host Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi. I'm going to give you a swift kick with my boot.
Please just make them not steel-toed.
No guarantees.
Ah, dang it. How's your week been?
It's been pretty good. Busy. We're busy. I've been planting seeds and getting that ready and um, things like that. How about you?
Pretty good. I'm actually looking forward to this week. At time of recording, on Thursday, the second half of the Bridgerton season premieres. So I'm really looking forward to that. And in personal news, the 30th anniversary of Pokemon is on Friday, February 27th. So it's a good week.
I'm starting to see people like celebrities come out and say things about that. Like, oh, like announcing what their favorite Pokemon was
Mhm.
or is, I guess. And I've been surprised at the celebrities that have kind of popped up and said something. Not that's not really my world, but because it is yours, I've paid attention.
Well, thank
So
you.
I'll have to send a few of them to you that I found.
Yes.
I, yeah.
I saw the Super Bowl commercial with Lady Gaga, which I thought was a nice like
Oh,
crossover. So I did see that one, but I'm curious what these others are. But yeah, so much in the way that I like to cobble together a lot of my interest for things. You're already shaking your head. We've got a fantastic guest today. So would you please introduce our fantastic guest?
I would love to. Today we are joined by Manny the Bootmaker, who streams live his bootmaking and he has some incredible designs. And the coolest part is that you can own them. Please, I was going to say, please give it up for it, which is totally not what we do here. Welcome to the show, Manny.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. You, I mean, you already have some boots ready to show us, and I want to get to those. But first and foremost, I have to ask, where did you find your love of bootmaking from? How did you get started in
Well, I guess I'll say how much time do we have?
that?
Because I'll try to narrow it down. So I grew up on a horse ranch, train horse for a living, and one of the things that I was always fascinated by. I was always fascinated by how things were made. I was always fascinated by people taking leather and shaping it into, round usable objects. And
Mhm.
I said one day I'm going to learn how to make boots, or I'm going to learn how to make saddles. At the time, if you wanted a little bit longer version, I couldn't afford to build a saddle because to build
Okay.
a custom saddle, I mean, you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 just in materials.
Wow.
That include the tools, and so I was like, you know what? We'll try the boots because I love boots. I always wear boots. I was raised wearing boots, and so that's what we got started with the boots. And we honestly, as time went on, well, to break it down for you, initially I got into shoe repair and boot repair because I thought that would be a way for me to reverse engineer the boots.
Oh, smart.
So I
Mhm.
took some boots apart and then I started seeing, shapes and you know, stitch seams and all that. And I was like, okay, so that changes for every boot, every pair that you see. And I started getting into this rabbit hole and I said, you know what, I need to go find somebody that knows more than I do. And I talked to a gentleman down in Alabama. Initially, he didn't want to teach me. He said, I'm done teaching people. He was older and he was saying that, that the people that he's taught never stuck with it. So he was fed up. He said, I'm not teaching anybody anymore. And because of my background and stuff that I was doing, he said, I don't know, there's something about you. So he said, get some tools and come see me for a few days. That's all I could afford was a few days because, hotel was expensive.
Yeah.
And and after I spent a few days with him, he said, that's all I can teach you. Pack your bags and get out of here. So I was like, are you kicking me out? He said, no, you're further ahead you think you are. So he said, go. He gave me a name in Texas, a guy by the name of Mike Vaughn, who's to this day continues to, guide me and mentor me along. And he said, go see him and he'll help you further. I couldn't afford to go see him at the time. So, a lot of these bootmakers are not going to just pour out into you if they don't know you or if they don't see you try. And so I took what the first guy taught me and I started building on my own and I started posting pictures online. And, the guy from Texas reached out to me and said, hey, do this. This is a better method to do that. They started noticing my work because I was consistently posting new stuff. And, one day he said, here's my phone number and call me. And that guy was Mike Vaughn from Texas. And so he said, you need to make a pair of boots because every year they have a boot and saddle maker roundup in Wichita Falls. And he said, you need to make a pair of boots and bring it. I was like, man, I don't know if I can afford to go to Texas. But at the time, when somebody that sees you in that way, they say, if a mentor tells you to do something, you better do it. So he told me, he said, make a pair of boots and come. He didn't say, can you come or will you be there? He said, make a pair of boots and come. And so, it was a week away, man. I was hustling till 9, 10 o'clock at night trying to get these boots done. And what happens is every bootmaker does things different. There's 100 ways to make a pair of boots. So I took parts of what the guy taught me in Alabama and the guy in Texas taught me, and I married them together. Well, that was a mistake because different things weren't sitting right. So the boot that I had made for the competition wasn't fitting, wasn't sitting on the last right, that's what this is, the last.
Okay.
And
which is the inside shaper of the, yeah.
This is the base shape of it. It wasn't sitting right on it. And so now I was scrambling 2-3 days to make another pair to take to the competition. And the guy in Texas said, I can't, the stuff that I need to show you, you have to be here in person. And he's in Texas, I'm in Georgia. That's a good ways.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to take a pair of boots over there. You told me to take a pair of boots, so you're going to have to video chat with me so we can get this done. And he did. He sent me pictures. He sent me videos, and we got the pair of boots that I was able to take to the event. And we ended up wearing a belt buckle that year for the journeyman. So it was good.
So that's like a prize is like a belt buckle.
Right. So
okay.
You take a pair of boots and it'll get judged based on the construction, how aesthetically, how it looks. And when I was there, I think there was three boots in my category, which was a journeyman. But now you go to that event, there's like 14. So it's grown over the years.
Cool.
Wow.
What an amazing thing to win, like your first try. Or maybe not your first try, because like you had to make another pair of boots, but like your first entry.
Right. And part of it really was, it was good because it showed me that I could do it, because I'm one of those people, I'm almost borderline a perfectionist. So things are not to a certain way, like I'll just chunk it, and if some of these stitches are crooked, I'll just chunk the whole boot and start over. And finally, my wife was like, buddy, you got to start finishing some of the stuff because they don't look as bad as you think they do. So she pushed me to start finishing stuff because, she was like, and a lot of bootmakers in Texas will tell me this, is like, don't look at the little stitch, look at the overall. Because, a handmade boot is not going to be perfect because it's two hands that are guiding every stitch, every turn. So they're not going to be perfect. Some of the stitching may not be 100% perfect, but that's what makes it a handmade boot. And I had to kind of train my mind to kind of get away from the perfection. I still am with a lot of stuff, but, I had to just accept the fact that these were not going to be 100% perfect.
And speaking of learning, because you've had like 2 different mentors, one of which you said told you this is all I can teach you. You far exceeded, like you're far beyond what that person normally worked with, and then you had another mentor that was in Texas, and I'm curious of looking back on that, like was that more of a motivator for you, or was that feel more like pressure? Because one in my mind is a little bit more positive, one is a little bit more negative. So I'm curious from your perspective, was it more motivating or like, oh God, the pressure?
You told me when the guy kicked me out of the shop, or when he's when he sent me over to the other guy?
A little column A, a little column B.
I mean, I'm always, it might be common, but I don't know. I put a lot of pressure on myself because a lot of stuff, when boots go out of here, they have my name on them.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to do the best that I can do, no matter what it is. And so, when he first told me, because he told me straight up, like, pack your lunch bag and, go and get. I thought he was kicking me out. I was like, because I literally answered, I was like, hey, am I doing something wrong? But he was like, no, I've taught you enough. Go see the next guy. And it was a lot of pressure because, the biggest thing for me was just not quitting. And I don't plan on quitting, but, you do have that pressure to kind of just keep going and to show them that you're serious about it so that more people are willing to help you get further ahead. So.
It totally
That is
makes sense.
awesome. So how soon after you won this belt buckle did you decide to like make this a business for yourself?
Actually, we made it a business before we won the belt buckle.
Okay.
But it was mainly at the time we were focusing on shoe repair.
That's right. Okay.
Trying to get into the boots, which has become a crazy thing on its own because we got so busy with shoe repair and boot repair and leather repair that we didn't have time to make boots.
Okay.
Because we got to some point, again, my perfectionist, I was always trying to figure out how to make things better. How can we make the boots look even better than when they came off the showroom, the store? Because I feel like over the years, you think about shoe repair as, people just you take your shoes to the shop, they'll patch them up and then you get them back. Nowadays we've seen a transition from shoe repair to recrafting, right? Where people will bring their boots in for us to completely redo the soles and make them look as though they just came out of the box.
Wow.
And so it's more of a recraft than it is more of a shoe repair nowadays. And so with the quality, and I don't know if me just being a perfectionist, I've always striving to make things better, and we've been fortunate enough and blessed enough that we've created a good name for our business that way.
For those who don't understand, what is the difference between buying a boot off the shelf and just wearing it around or ordering like a custom boot?
It's a huge difference. It's night and day difference. Especially, because people think people who buy boots, they're just rich people, lawyers, but the majority of my customers are just blue collar people who are tired of, the cheap materials, the cheap quality they're getting off the shelf, and they want something that's built well, something that's going to last them forever or longer anyway. Because I don't tell people my boots are going to last you for the rest of your life, because if you wear them, you'll get more wear out of them than you would a store-bought boot, but they're not going to last you forever if you wear them. But the biggest difference really is going to be the fit, because I didn't realize. So for me, for example, if I buy a pair of boots off the shelf, I have to buy a size 10 because, a lot of people have this bone on top of the foot here. I don't have that. I've got really flat feet. And so I have to buy a boot that's smaller to hold my foot in the boot. And when I buy the smaller boot, my toes, when the boots get broken in, it will slide to the front, causing my toes to jam up in the front, which is painful. And so now that I made my own boots, I'm able to take what I've learned and design the patterns of the boots to fit my foot. And so like I can give myself a little extra room in the toe box and snug up the throat, or what we would call like the heel measurement, to keep my foot in the back and keep it from sliding forward and jamming my toes in the front. So the fit it's night and day difference. Usually people who go from store-bought boots, or off-the-shelf boots we call them, and they go to custom boots, they have a really hard time going back to off-the-shelf boots.
I bet. I imagine.
In terms of materials and working with that sort of thing, I imagine that there are different types of leather that you can work with, and I'm curious what types you work with, what works best for you, what have your customers requested. I'm really just interested in the materials that you've worked with.
So as far as materials, I tell people we work with anything that's legal. Because you do have skins that are banned, like anteater. You can't make boots out of that unless it's pre-banned. The most popular skins that we work with is going to be bull shoulder, cowhide. We do anything from alligator, ostrich, hippo, shark. You name
Wow.
it. Um,
I'm gonna pause you right there. Anteater and hippo.
Well,
Those are actual.
anteater's banned.
Well,
But
I
yeah.
know, but I didn't know that that you could make a leather from that.
yeah, believe it or not, I've got a set of vintage boots up there in the front made by Mercedes back in the 80s before they banned anteater. And I've been offered a good chunk of money for those boots as they sit because they're banned. So you can't get them anymore.
Sure.
Yeah.
And those actually belong to one of my customers. And he said he brought them almost, ashamed to bring him in because he thought that I was going to tell him to throw them in the trash. Because he inherited the boots when his father passed away. He was cleaning out, the attic, and he found the boots in a box in the attic.
Uh-huh.
Not realizing that what he had is like the holy grail of boots because they're in really good condition for being from the 80s. They were made in 1982, I believe.
Wow.
If you want me, I can grab them and we can look at them. But
No, thank you, because I don't want more people coming to you making offers on that. We also must make a statement here at the Modern Romantic Podcast. We don't condone advocating for illegal pieces of leather. Please don't go and seek them out.
well, these are pre-banned, so
They're
you can sell
pre-banned.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
the only don't like, but you can't kill them now for the leather. But
Gotcha.
there's still pre-banned leathers out there.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I
And-
find it interesting that hippo is even like I never even thought about hippo. Like you said, shark. I feel like I've heard of that, but not hippo.
Well, you got, like this is just regular cowhide
Uh-huh.
pair that we're working on now. Back here, we've got this is just American bison, which is bull shoulder, basically, some more bull shoulder. And then even back here, I've got a little bit of some elephant.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So
No.
elephant's popular because it's tough. And the good thing with elephant is you can't they banned elephant skin, I believe, back in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
But with people poaching elephants for the tusks, instead of letting the elephant just rot in the ground, what the villagers would do is they will actually process the elephant for the meat, and they sell the skin so that the villagers can have some income instead
Okay.
of just letting it go to waste. And so that's how we get the elephant, which is why it's considered very exotic.
I imagine.
It's available, but like I said, the only way you can really get the skin is, going that route when somebody, unfortunately poaches an elephant for the tusks. Or they die.
Yeah. A couple of comments from our chat are Josh said, I've got a set of custom moccasins that are the greatest footwear I've ever owned. I've had them for 25 years and I still love them. And the Truth Found said, what are your favorite boots you've made?
My favorite boots is probably, that's really hard because every pair of boots that I've made is, as weird as it sounds, it takes about a week to make a pair of boots, roughly.
Okay.
And so by the time they're done, it almost feels like a piece of you is leaving because you've worked so hard, polishing the heels, stitching them, doing everything you had to do. So by the time they're done, you almost don't want to let them go.
Sure.
But I think my favorite pair of boots so far has been my wife's boots. I don't have them here with me because she's probably wearing them at home, but because she designed the boot from top to bottom and I just built it for her.
Oh, wow.
And so that was kind of nice being able to build something and she was happy with it. So that's all that matters.
That's amazing.
Very cool. And what are you wearing your boots right now? I'm going to put you on the spot. What are you
Maybe.
wearing?
Barefoot.
Oh, look at that.
Ooh.
Yep.
No, I
He's
do-
wearing
I
his
do.
own boots.
I have to represent,
Yeah.
But these are just, I mean, and I beat my boots up. So people are probably going to be saying, man, clean your boots. Nah, I mean, my boots are work boots. They are my dress boots. Um, this is actually pig suede.
Hmm. Oh my
And then the
gosh.
back is made out of buffalo. And then the tops are kid skin.
Wow.
Wow.
And then the insides are just the leather inserts. There's no cushion, no nothing. Um, and so, but yeah, these boots, because with us being retailers for different brands, I get a lot of boots because if I'm going to sell you something, I'm going to be upfront about it, and I want to make sure you know the quality, the durability. But I go catch myself putting on some other boots, and I'm like, man, this just don't feel right. So I kick them back off and always go back to these.
I don't blame you. When I lived in Texas, there were so many people that would come to school with boots. I mean, it was a very common occurrence because we lived in a very agricultural town. I'm not going to say what because I don't want to get doxxed. Um, but people would come to school and they would keep the same boots that they've had for like 10 years and would just maintain and upkeep and just keep wearing them because they were the most comfortable things that they owned and that they just loved and adored.
Yeah, if you take care of boots, they'll last you forever. I mean, I've rebuilt. They obviously don't have them here anymore, but I've rebuilt boots that have been at least 50 years old, 40 to 50 years old.
Wow. Does the leather ever get to the point where you can't like rehydrate it or you can't do what you would like? Is it? I had a camera case once. It was all leather, and the leather was just crumbling, and I felt like I couldn't do anything to save it.
Yeah, usually once it gets to that point, it's usually called like they'll dry rot, or they'll just get so dry they crack. Yeah, I mean, leather supposedly has 100-year lifespan, but as much as depending on how it gets used and how it gets maintained, with anything, the less you use it, the less you wear it, the faster it deteriorates. And so the less it gets used, the faster it deteriorates. So as long as it gets conditioned over time, it should hold up for a good time or good time frame. But at the same time, it'll eventually just crumble to the point where you can't do anything with it.
Sure.
I think
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's still organic matter, I guess. So that makes sense.
I think when Emily joined our the men's haberdashery that we worked for, James was the first person to talk to me about conditioning leather
Oh yeah.
and like tell me the benefits of it. And listening to him do his spiel, I thought he was full of it whenever he was first talking about it. And then no, Google backed him up. So James, if you're listening, thank you for teaching me the error of my ways.
Yeah, he did something that we used to work with him. He did something that I didn't even realize you could do. He got this pair of shoes and stripped it down. Like, I think they were brown at one point. It was a pair of dress shoes. He stripped it down to where they weren't even brown anymore. They were like the original, like, tan leather color. And then completely, like, redid them. And then I think he made them gray or something else. Or navy blue. I don't remember, but he was able to kind of like you would refinish furniture. He did that with shoes. And I didn't even know that was possible.
As long as they're leather, it's possible. Usually I tell people it's easier to go darker than it is lighter. Usually once you dye anything black, I mean, you have a hard time taking some of that dye
Sure.
off.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious, still on the materials front, is there like I will go to a craft store and they will offer 100% leather, and they've confirmed that it's leather, all those sorts of things. How does that compare to the type of leather that you work with?
So a couple different things, and again, I mean, I could be wrong, so I'm not 100% right all the time, but you have to look at the labels. Because a lot of times when you see something that says genuine leather, you think, well, this is genuine leather. It's leather. But in reality, what genuine leather is basically leather that just trashed out. They pack it all together and they press it really hard and make a sheet of leather out of it. That's because it's just still genuine leather. But it's just the trash, kind of like if you look at like plywood, right? Plywood is basically just a bunch of wood reminiscences and pressed hard into a sheet of plywood.
Yeah.
So genuine leather is basically the same thing, because once you start breaking apart, I mean, it just falls apart. Genuine leather will do the same thing. So what you need to look for when you go to the store and buy leather is you got to buy full grain leather, which full
Okay.
grain is basically what this is. It's got because you got the soft side and you got the rough side.
That makes sense. I used to work for a bookstore that sold some leather-bound books, and one of the things they told me was similar to that. It was, I think they called it top grain leather or something, though.
You have top grain, full grain,
Okay.
different stuff. Yes.
Okay. That's awesome.
Fascinating.
In terms of the designs that you give to shoes, how often do you have a lot of creative control over that, and how often is it kind of dictated what is necessary for the shoe?
A lot of it initially, and this was a mistake I made early on, was I allowed the customer to design their boots 100%. But then when I found that when I started putting them together, I had to figure out how I was going to put them together now that they were designed. And like you said, it's a lot of it has to boil down to how the design is going to be so that we can put the boots together appropriately. Sometimes it takes, depending on the customer, sometimes they're like, I want this and I want it. Doesn't matter what it costs, I want it. But then you have to figure out how to put it together.
Sure.
So usually now what I try to do is I try to just, because a lot of my customers, they really don't know much about, the boot process. So I try to just guide them and say, hey, what do you want to incorporate into the boot? Whether it's a design, whether it's initials, a brand, stitch pattern, colors. So I try to just get their ideas based on what they want or what they want to see on the boot. And then I try to make the design myself, because with my experience, I can manipulate it so that I can put the boot together without very much issue.
Sure.
I like that. It's taking it and you're still giving them the essence of what they're asking for, but you're
Right.
making it possible versus like impossible.
Right.
Do you find that people will give you designs that really kind of challenge you or stretch your abilities?
Initially, when I first started making boots, I just wanted to make a lot of plain boots with no stitching, no nothing, just so I can get experience.
Okay.
But my first 5 customers wanted initials, they wanted stitching, and I was like, okay then. So, I mean, they were challenging me from the beginning. And I was like, well, got to get it out the way one day or another, so might as well do it now. But no, I still get challenged based on like certain colors, and because there's times a customer wants certain colors like turquoise and yellow and all this stitching and collars, and in my head it just doesn't go together well. But then I put the boot together and I was like, what, that's not that bad. So I kind of just saved that image in my head for next time. So I'm, if a customer wants it, I'll put it on there,
Sure.
and then we'll, that's what they wanted. So, later on we can kind of make adjustments. Or if I'm doing it, while I'm working on the boot, if something comes up where I'm like, I don't think this is going to go very well, I'll call the customer and try to give them different ideas on how we can proceed. But most of them are like, just build it. This is what I want. This is my initials. You figure out the process.
Right.
That works out for me.
And go ahead, Trey.
I was just gonna say it speaks to their trust in you to say you're the qualified professional, just make it happen.
And those are my favorite customers. I like all my customers, but those are by far the easiest ones to work, because I do joke around with them, because I'll have some customers that they'll say, I don't care what color, I don't care what skin, just send me the bill. And I'll say, okay, well, we can do pink tops and like purple bottoms. They're like, all right, maybe not pink or purple. I was like, all right, so you do care.
That's one way to force them to tell you what they want. Yeah.
And that's usually how I can guide them towards, okay, well, let's pick, some basic colors. And because this guy, initially, this is like his 4th pair of boots he's ordered from me.
Awesome.
And he's deployed now, so he'll be back home, I think, next month to pick these up. But, initially he's like, I don't care what color it is. And he was one of those, he really didn't care. So the first pair I made purple tops and like rough out bottoms, and, they turned out pretty nice. And then we did red tops for this one, so I don't know what the next pair is going to be.
We've got a question in our chat here. Have you made any boots for anyone well known or famous that you can tell us?
Well, I've made boots. I haven't made boots for like any like famous people. I've had people from movies reach out to make
Okay.
boots for like movies and stuff like that, but um, I respond to them, but sometimes I don't respond back, or they'll email like 50 people or whatever. Um, I've made, I mean, I, I've made boots for some big people. I'll say that. But not big, but just big, like, status in the world, like people who've got offices,
Okay.
in all 50 states or, stuff like that.
Okay.
People who hang out with, the presidents and stuff like that. So, but it's not, I haven't made pair of boots for a musician yet.
Okay.
I would like to, but just hasn't happened yet.
Or maybe you have, and they're just not discovered yet.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Do you have to have the person, like the customer in person to make boots that fit them right? Or is that
Yes.
something that can be done long distance?
No, I've had people ask, because we do have customers all over the country. And I've had some ask and be like, hey, I'm an 11B or 11D. Make me a pair of boots. And I was like, I can, but I can't guarantee the fit, because the way that we make the boots is it doesn't matter just your size, because a lot of times your size when we make your boots ends up being different anyway. The way that we measure your size with the custom boots is we take your size from the ball of the last to the heel. Most of the time when you buy a pair of boots off the shelf, you're taking your size from heel to toe,
Okay.
because you got to make sure everything is going to fit, make sure the throat's good. So no, in that instance, that's why I require every customer that wants a pair of custom boots, they have to be either meet me at the shop here, or if I'm at an event somewhere for whatever reason, they can meet me along the way. Because they're just so much, and you can see this slash right here. I'll see if I can lift them up. I mean, you can see how much they differ as far as length or width, and then the bones. And this customer was actually wearing a size, I think he was wearing like a size 11 double E off the shelf.
Wow.
When I measured his foot, I got him in an 11 and a half triple A, which is very narrow.
Wow.
And most people are narrow in the heel and wide in the forefoot. And this particular customer was having issues with, pain in his feet. And you can see right there, because his metatarsal was sticking out pretty good. And so a lot of his bones just weren't being supported. And so we hugged him in the waist to give him that extra support. And then
Fascinating.
we did his measurements. Because every customer gets their own set of patterns. Look,
Okay.
front and back. So this ends up being like this, essentially.
Okay.
Okay.
But every customer gets their feet measured like
Oh,
this.
look at that. It's like a foot outline with a lot of little measurements and calculations and
A
stuff.
lot of little numbers.
Those are things that probably most people don't think of when they're just running into like their local shoe store and grabbing a pair of shoes, and then they hurt halfway through the event, and then they go, I thought I was a 9 triple E or whatever, and nothing is wide enough.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing I've seen from some of my customers is, he had a really high instep, which is this little part right here. So if you wear a boot and this always hurts, or your feet go numb,
Okay.
the reason they do that is because there's so much pressure right there on top of that little bone. There is a major blood vessel that runs down on your foot. So if this is too tight, it's going to restrict the blood flow through your foot, which is why it goes numb.
Oh.
I had a customer, and by the way, I'm not a doctor, just, just FYI, but I had a customer that had a really high instep, so he was wearing like a size 9.5, 10 off the shelf. When I measured him for his boots, I ended up building his boots on a size 4 last.
What?
Well,
Even he couldn't believe it. So
that is bizarre. Like I will buy a size up, a full size up, because my feet are wide, and typically a wide isn't wide enough. I have flippers, but I do know that that makes the shoe too long, and I end up tripping upstairs. I have to get used to them and all the things. So I'm guessing I probably wear something way smaller. It just needs to be
Probably.
wider.
Probably.
So
And
Go ahead.
don't feel bad. You don't have flippers. I would say 90%, if not 100% of the population, they're narrow in the heel and wide in the forefoot. Because
Yeah.
I think the widest last that I have right now, it's probably like a C width, which is narrow. But the width in the forefoot, it's always going to be wider for that
Okay.
reason, to give you that room in your toes.
Huh. For anybody who is not in the shoe world, width is the letter. So when you're talking about like an A or a C or an E, E is a wide. And then they go into like triple E and things like that. That's even wider, right? Am I right?
Well,
I want
let me
to fact check myself.
let me blow your brain up a little bit more.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
you remember how I told you this was a triple A, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it's narrow. So you go 4A, that's even narrower. 5A, even narrower, right?
Oh, so the amount of so that's okay.
But then when you go to B, you got B, double B, triple C. That it starts getting wider
So
And
it's only
then-
for A that it goes the other direction?
because you're going backwards.
Oh.
That's what when you get to A, you take less A's, you take A's off, it gets wider. And then you get to B, and then you start adding B's, it gets wider. And then you to go to C, double C, triple D. And then you start going to D's, and then E's, 4 or 5 E's, then you got F width, G width. I mean, it goes up.
So what's the widest? Is there a widest, or is it just because humans are variable and potentially infinite?
Yeah, I mean, basically it just depends, I mean, because I can't tell you for sure what the width is because I modified the last and I go based off the measurements of the foot.
Sure.
So, I mean, I
Okay.
can't really say, hey, this is a 5 width or 5A or, I'm sure if I take the measurements, I can probably get like a rough estimate. But I mean, I couldn't tell you because you're just looking at these, you can tell that his left foot is far wider than his right foot. Just looking at those measurements.
I see. So when you say 4A, it's actually narrower than what I was thinking. That's like super narrow.
Super, very narrow.
Okay.
You can't even find a pair of shoes that are A width on the shelf.
No,
No.
I've never seen it.
Like for men, I think most boots or shoes are either going to be the D width or double
Yeah.
E, or E or double E. With boots or shoes, every now and then you'll have like if you're familiar with like Allen Edmonds or
Yeah.
Johnson Murphy, sometimes they'll have like a B width or a C width.
Mhm.
And I think Allen Edmonds is probably the only company that if you call them, they will like, because some people have like discrepancies in the length of their feet. And
Yeah.
so they will be like a size different. And you can call some of these companies and they can make your shoe a different size.
Oh. Nice.
Instead of you having to buy 2 pairs of shoes, you buy one, but you just call the company and be like, hey, I need a 7 and I need a 9.
That makes sense. I remember several customers being like, how do I not buy 2 pairs of shoes? And
Yeah.
then as a salesperson, you're like, well,
Go ahead and buy 3.
we can't. Yeah, right. That's
As a salesperson, you got to buy 3. You know what I'm saying? You can't buy 2. Come
yeah, that's they're buy one, get one half off or whatever.
on. Now they have the 3rd pair, so they wear one shoe out. Hey, I got an extra one right here. Come on.
That's right. That's right. That's the right answer.
Man, I mean, that makes me rethink my own shoe size because I can be a 13 in, what is it? A 13 in Cole Haan, and then I go over and I try to get them in like Rockports, and then I become a 14, and then I go down to a 13 in these other types of shoes. I mean, I get why there's like commercial things so that they can get them out a little bit faster, but then that also explains why so many people have problems with fitting in their shoes and why my big fat clodhoppers that I call my feet don't always fit. Don't always fit. Now, I do have to say, I do actually have flippers for feet. They're 13 and a half, if I'm not mistaken, and generally a D width. But this is making me re-question my whole life.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's, honestly, my wife is like, sometimes she's like, sometimes I hate you. And I say, why? She's like, because ever since you got into making boots and repairing the shoes, all I do when I go to town is look at people's shoes.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So she'll be walking around and be like, yeah, they need some new heels. Yeah, they need to put them boots resold,
Should have bought leather soled shoes. Yep. We've
So-
done that.
I was about to say we have actually gone out in public and looked at. This is terrible to admit this on a podcast, but we have actually gone out and I have I have judged people's not judged, but I have assessed people's neck and sleeve lengths of what dress shirt they are, to the point where I was standing at one day at work and my boss comes over to me and he goes, so yeah, I need, he had lost a lot of weight and he's like, yeah, I just got refit for some new dress shirts. And I said, hold on, I have the magic. I'm going to guess your shirt size within a half an inch. And I was right on the money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You should have made custom suits then.
Absolutely not. No. But it does make a great party game when people are like, guess my neck and sleeve length. And that's a whole thing.
It's like my mom. My mom when I was younger, I was like a medium or large in shirts, but she would always buy me like a double XL. And I was like, what is this, Mom? She was like, you look so thick.
Oh my God.
It happened the other day where there was somebody I ran into, and it's somebody I knew, so I didn't feel awkward because otherwise this might be awkward. Where I was like, "Hey, what size shoe do you wear? Is that like a 12?" And they were like, "How did you know that?" And I was like, "Oh, I worked in menswear for a very long time." We got really good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Trey was telling that story, I was like, I know he's gonna guess it right. I know it. Because we did. We got really good at that. A width, though, that's a different thing. That's harder.
Seriously.
Yeah. Can you do that? Do you look at people and go, I bet that's a
I've done it and I've been pretty close. I've
Yeah.
been pretty close. Because people sometimes will come in here and I tell them the same spiel that I just told you about the last and how they fit and all this stuff. And they're like, all right, well, fit me then. And I'm like, all right. But the thing is, I can fit you on the last, but doesn't mean that you're going to fit off the shelf,
Right.
But I've been pretty close. I think there's been one time, like the guy that I told you that went from a size 9 to like a size 4. He kind of took me by surprise because I was like, man, you wearing a size 9. But I could tell because you can tell based on how the boot was curving up. If it curves up like that, usually there's a good chance that it's too long for them.
Yeah.
But
That's a telltale sign. Yeah. There are a couple more comments from the chat. One is, I think I need new boots now. My arches are excessively high, and shoes made for high arches never are enough support, and I end up getting arch pain. He might be the answer. Plus, who wouldn't feel like a boss in boots like those?
yeah, again, I'm not a doctor, but I've had doctors send people to me to fit them for boots for that reason.
Oh, nice.
Because if you really think about it, there's women that love wearing their high heels. And, some women, I mean, you get both sides of the spectrum, right? You get women that say, man, I'll wear 3-4 inch heels like nobody's business. They're the most comfortable thing I've ever worn in my life. And you get some that say, I don't like them. But if you really think about it, and if you wear boots, or even if you just kind of step on your toes a little bit, not step on your toes, but kind of just push up on them.
Yeah.
You take the pressure of your Achilles tendon, which then takes the pressure off your knees and relieves some of the pressure of your lower back. So a lot of people who have a lot of lower back pain, I usually recommend they get a little bit taller heel, maybe like 1.5 inches, maybe even 1.75 inches if they can stand it. And that relieves a lot of their lower back pain. Now, before, again, I'm not a doctor, but I've had this feedback from my customers, because I recommend it to them. They go out and maybe buy a pair of boots off the shelf or something just to test it out. And they'll come back to me and say, man, that's made a big difference in my back pain.
Yep.
But I mean, obviously there could be some other stuff in there as well that you need to go to your doctor and check out.
Right.
But
this is not medical advice.
Right. I'm not a doctor.
Right. Yeah.
just a
Well, I can
bootmaker.
vouch for that. I had a pair of boots that actually fit really, really well, and they finally just wore out. And they were not a leather soled boot, so there wasn't much to be done there, I think. Anyway, they did wear out, but they fit really well, and I was able to wear them for many years, and they were a higher heel. And I used to get asked, like, how can you run around in those for 8, 12 hours a day? And I'm like, I don't know, they're just way more comfortable than anything else I have. And I wore those forever at the store we worked at, and I have not found a pair like them since. I'll probably have to get custom in order to
Hey,
do that
come on
again,
down.
but
Come on down.
come on down. All right. And another comment from the chat says, your wife sounds amazing. I love her already.
She is amazing. I love her already too.
I hope so. Yes, that's wonderful. Well, shout out to your wife.
Her name is Josephine.
I was gonna ask. Okay, good.
Well, we call her Josie.
Hi, Josie.
Hi, Josie.
I don't know if she's watching. I said because I shared it on Facebook, so
Awesome.
maybe that was her that left that comment. What's the name on that thing?
Could be. What is your favorite part about the artistry of boot making?
To me, it's the whole process.
Okay.
Because with repairs, I mean, you take them apart, you put them together. But to me, it's taking just flat piece of leather in rolls like this, basically, and trying to get all the designs and everything. Because out of this, you got to have your tops. Out of, then you got to have this. So you start with this, and then you got to have your counters and all that other stuff, and then you got to figure out how to marry everything together into the boot itself. To me, I enjoy the process.
Okay.
Of starting, because for me, as crazy as it sounds, I'm very impatient. I want things done yesterday. And with this, as long as it takes to build them, I had to learn to slow down.
Okay.
And enjoy the process. For me, it's like I was like, I'm gonna make a pair of boots in a day, and everybody just laughed. They were like, "Good luck." And now I believe them. Because it's if you're going to make a good pair of boots that's well made, that's well balanced, because sometimes to get to this point, it takes a day, sometimes if not longer, to make a pair of fit the foot. And it's always, to me, the hardest part of boot making now is making sure they fit. That's the part that I care about the most. I would rather build 100 pair that are just plain with no stitching, no nothing, just plain leather like this.
Just solid.
But I want them to fit, because if they don't fit, they're not going to wear them, and if they don't wear them, they're not going to wear them out, and they're not going to come back and get another pair. So I am extremely picky about the fit. I take the measurements. I measure 3 times, 4 times. And not only do they have to fit, but they have to be aesthetically pleasing, because the last has to also fit the foot. You can't have big chunks here, big chunks here. Everything has to flow real nice and real smooth. There's a bootmaker in Texas. Her name is Lisa Sorrell. And she said that one of her mentors always said that, the boots have to have a flow like a Coca-Cola bottle, or a shape of a lady's body, just kind of like, there have to be some shape to them to be pleasing. And so that's one thing I try to do, is make sure that things flow. But for me, really, honestly, I just enjoy the whole process from start to finish.
I'm glad that you've found the fun in slowing down. I think, I don't know, Emily, is it similar for you where you just try to knock out a costume or something, or have you found yourself kind of slowing down in that process to enjoy that? 1 second.
So she makes costumes?
She does. She's also a photographer.
I don't know what just happened.
That happened to me earlier. It's okay.
Oh, okay. I wondered what happened.
You can't blame me for that one.
It's acting up, yeah. I
Um,
do, yeah. The sewing is the process. Yeah. I come
Yeah.
from a costuming and fashion design background, and um it's you have to be if you want to do it right, because you have to pay attention to things like, and I'm gonna say it because I'm not sewing today, right sides together. Because you and if you want, especially with like what Manny said about fit, the fit to me is always the most important thing too, because you can have an amazing ball gown, but if the fit is off, that's the whole thing's off. It doesn't work. So yeah, if you want it to be right, you've got to take the time to do it right. And slowing down to make that happen is it's probably one of the few things I do slow down for. Kind of like Manny. I can relate to this. Everything else, I'm not patient about. So yeah, relatable.
we do have a comment here from Josh, who said, "I have boots from Manny, and I love them."
Oh,
Okay.
hooray.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, Manny, I do want to ask, for those that are maybe looking to get into their own boot making or to repair shoes or really anything to do with shoes themselves, what advice would you give those people?
So I'll give them the advice that was given to me and I failed to follow through on. So when I first got started, they told me to either choose boot making or choose the repair side of it, because it's hard to balance both of them. A lot of people balance both of them, but I mean, it's like because you got like three different businesses going at the same time: repairs, boots. So what I would suggest is they need to decide what they want to do. If they want to focus on the art of recrafting or focus on actually making from scratch, because you're either going to get busy doing the boots or you're going to get busy doing the shoes. And if you're doing both at the same time, you're going to have a hard time juggling both. Um, Me personally, I wanted to get into boots from the beginning. So what I wish I would have done is I wish I would have found somebody that had a boots the way I like them and go to them and work for free, do whatever I had to do to learn how to make boots. Um, and learn how to do it. I mean, do it for years, kind of like an apprenticeship, because then that way you're going to be proficient in doing what you enjoy, and then from there you can branch out and do your own stuff. Um, Take classes from somebody that's been doing, like, as crazy as it sounds. I mean, I've actually had students come to me, and I've actually I'll do like a 2-week class, and we'll make boots.
Awesome.
I'll teach them how to make boots, and I'll give them all my patterns. I'll give them everything they need to go home and make boots. And
Wow.
they'll go home with a pair of boots that they've made. 50 to 80%, just about. Um, but I would, I would find somebody that I can go learn from and learn from them.
That's
Now,
awesome advice.
are you going to tell someone to pack their bags and go home, or?
I sure will, after the 2 weeks is up and they paid me for the class. No, but I mean, it's like, well, I tell them, it's like, doesn't matter, because I can teach anybody how to do it. At the end of the day, it's up to them to take what they've learned and continue to pursue it. Like, even people that that I've met over the years, like in Texas or other states, they'll post pictures, they'll call me, they'll ask me for advice. I'll give them advice. I don't charge for that, but and I'll tell them, be like, hey, post on the groups, where all the bootmakers are, and eventually they'll start helping you out, because you can teach anybody how to do it, but if they take it and don't do nothing with it, eventually they're going to lose it again. And so, but yeah, I'll probably tell them to pack their bags, but I'll tell them you can bring your bag back if you need to.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice. Well, Manny, before I ask my last question, I do have to thank you so much for your time with us today. You've given a lot of insights into the world of bootmaking, and it's made me question a lot of things, especially about how well my shoes are actually fitting on my feet. So I really have to thank you for sharing your artistry with us and your inspiration.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun. This is the first time I've done a podcast, so thank you.
Yeah. I want to make sure to plug your socials here, so you can
Oh, yeah.
find Manny on Instagram at Manny The Bootmaker. He also has mannysboots.com for the website, where you can go see a lot of his work. Are there any other places that you'd like to plug?
I mean, I'm Manny the Bootmaker just about anywhere. YouTube, TikTok. I've dominated that name, and I'll probably keep it till I die.
Good idea. Yeah.
So, but we do go live on TikTok. We go live on YouTube, and people can ask more questions there. They can comment on some of the videos that are already on there. I'm
Awesome.
usually, because I'm the one that replies to a lot of that stuff. I'm sure my wife doesn't appreciate me responding to everybody at 10, 11 o'clock at night, but she's put up with me, and she gives me permission every now and then. But no, she's good.
Thank you, Josie.
Thank you, Josie.
Do you have a certain time or day of the week that you typically stream so people know when to go watch?
Usually we try to do TikTok in the morning time.
Okay.
And it'll vary between, I'd say, 8 in the morning to like noon, 1 o'clock Eastern time.
Okay.
And then I do try to hop on YouTube in the afternoon time, because that's typically when people on YouTube will get on in the afternoon, like right now. But it just depends.
Okay.
It'll vary.
Nice.
Well, go subscribe or go follow, and then you'll at least be notified when Manny goes live.
Thank you.
Well, my last question to you officially has nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far, and that is, if you could have lunch with anybody in the world, alive or dead, who is going to sit on the opposite side of that table from you?
You know, I heard somebody ask this question somewhere else, and I thought, it made a lot of sense. And I said that, and somebody said, said Jesus, right? But the thing is, they said, well, you can talk to him now. You don't have to wait. He said, you can do that now. And so that's probably who I would choose.
Okay.
Because it'd be interesting.
Yeah, very nice. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. Sorry, I've been watching too much Family Feud. But seriously, Manny.
That's why that sounded familiar.
But seriously, Manny, thank you so much for being here with us, sharing your artistry. I've actually already sent your website to a couple friends of mine that have boots, and I know that would appreciate a nice custom pair. So I really hope that they get some nice Manny boots.
I'll send you commission over.
Yeah, no. As we close this episode out tonight, we want to thank everybody for tuning into the Modern Romantic Podcast. Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to us. You can search for past episodes on our website at themodrom.com or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also support us on Patreon if you're able. You can find behind-the-scenes content and more on Patreon. Just search for The Mod Rom. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great night. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Go
Bye,
buy some
Manny.
boots.
Bye.
Thanks, Josie.